Welcome to Season 1 of Love First Homes. Your hosts, Heather Baker and Wade Isley, discuss owning and operating a small business, building a property management portfolio, growing a name in the real estate industry, and, most importantly, how to do it all with love. Enjoy!
Hello! Welcome to Love First Homes. Wade, will you please introduce yourself and provide some background on what you do for Love First Homes?
I would love to. Well, hey guys, wherever you're joining us, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, maybe even Amazon Podcasts, if we go down into South America, into the Amazon, we're glad you're here. My name's Wade Isley. I'm from a small town where the closest stoplight was an hour and a half away. I'm a 2-time home buyer, so I own 2 houses right now. In my 9-to-5 work, I'm called the HR dad. So I'm an HR manager, but I try to be a fun one. And what's kind of funny is over the last couple of years, real estate has made me more money than my 9-to-5, maybe even double my 9-to-5. So at Love First Homes, I don't really have a title. I would think maybe like the operations, maybe president, because I've always wanted to be a president since I was a kid. I used to go up to people and introduce myself. Hello, I'm Wade Isley, Mr. American Businessman. Give them a firm handshake, and then usually a hug because I'm a softie. One of the things, though, is that as we're going through this podcast, we're not really providing financial advice, right? We're providing education. So in no way are the things that we've done 100% going to happen for anybody else. But we're hoping that through education, you can have the same or better results as us. So we don't provide financial advice. Robert Kiyosaki, one of my favorite podcasters, says that about every 2 minutes of his podcast. But we do provide education. So Heather, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, thanks, Wade. My name's Heather Baker. I would love to have a more fun last name, but I don't. That's okay. I, unlike Wade, have lost a lot of money in real estate so far, only because I didn't have Wade with me in my first venture. So I became interested in real estate about 2.5 years ago from watching Row Built. Row Built's the name on YouTube. I am trying to think of what his real name is. I'm gonna have to look that up. He's incredible. He does this really awesome model with Airbnbs. And my partner Trenton came to me one day, said, I know that you really want to try a business venture. You've been looking in entrepreneurship. Watch this guy Row Built. Started watching him, decided I wanted to take a swing at my first Airbnb, dove into getting a home in Wyoming while the market was sort of shifting from a pretty decent buyer's market into I'd say a medium market. So it wasn't as if sellers were going to win a lot of money from you or anything, but it was just kind of medium. Got our first home off of a assistance program, went down this whole rabbit hole of trying to figure out how to fix up the home, found problems as one always does when you invest in real estate. Didn't have the skill set yet to navigate those problems in a fiscally responsible manner. Ended up losing over $10,000 on our first home, moved to a new state, and then in the midst of all of that, life said, we're going to give you this gift in the package of Wade. So that's how I got to know about real estate. If I were to have a title, yours was so fun. I'd be the Imagination Director. How about that? That would be what I think my title is.
You're saying mine is fun? Imagination Director versus President of Operations? That's totally like one level of fun and President
Super
of Operations.
Fun. Okay, no, I love it. Wade is the brains behind the operation. Wade's the person who helps us stick to the things like letting you know we're not financial experts. Whereas I would give you all the financial advice accidentally, all of it would be wrong, and then I get sued. So here I am as the person who helps with the marketing and says yes or no to homes alongside Wade, but mostly yes because he knows what he's doing. Okay.
Wait, Heather, before we move on, I wanted to ask a question. I want to know who this Row Built guy is. I just looked up Row Built
Mhm.
on YouTube. It's what I'm looking at over here. And when I look that up, I used to be a personal trainer. It's pulling up like, okay, a row, like
Okay,
I'm
hang on.
working out.
Do
So you got to tell us the
do
spelling here.
ROBUILT Airbnb AIRBNB.
Okay, Row Built. How to start an
Okay,
Airbnb
woo! I'm
business.
like,
Okay, there we go. I see him. All right, I'll have to check him out. I've actually never looked at him before. These Airbnbs look beautiful. Maybe in a future podcast, we'll have to talk about some of the concerns and some of the risks with Airbnb, and maybe have our friend Jill
yes.
Hashies on, who is an Airbnb expert. So
100%.
yeah,
And, one day, if good fortune shines upon us, maybe even Robuilt himself, who built Casa Conejo. That's another thing for you all listeners to listen up. Casa Conejo, I believe it's in is it Joshua Tree Park, California? Yeah.
yeah, the
Yes.
national park there. Cool.
Woo!
Okay,
Okay.
that's
So,
beautiful.
Wade, we just solidified and decided that for the next 20 to 60 years, our mission statement would be something pretty incredible. I was hoping you would read it for our audience for the
Yeah,
first time.
we literally did this 10 minutes before the podcast. And no, we didn't do it in 10 minutes. We've been working on this for weeks and actually months, for probably about 6 months. And so what we've done is come up with this mission statement, which is, what do we do? And this is what we do. Love First Homes transforms buildings into homes while prioritizing people and creating community. It's absolutely beautiful. I think it's a combination of who we are as people, right? A basis of transforming buildings, just an empty shell, into somebody's home, a family home where family's going to be raised, where kids are going to be born, where memories are going to be made. And we prioritize people. We're not about profit first, and we'll talk about that in a second. But we also create community through the education, like we're seeing here, through the work that you're doing, Heather, and then in the future through some philanthropic work that we're looking at doing. So
Yes, I am so excited. I don't think I could put it any better than you did, other than just the word warm comes to my heart when we think about the mission statement. That was the thing I mentioned too. I'm like, I just need words that make me feel warm when I see them. So I love our mission statement.
yeah,
You know how
future.
much I
So
love what we're doing, because I have all my fall girly outfits out, and I said I'm gonna wear one of my spring girly outfits because our brand colors are yellow and blue, along with some whites and some grays, so that we can make some cool designs for y'all once we get up and going with Love First Homes. But I'm in my royal blue and yellow outfit for Love First Homes today.
wow, Heather, man, in every part here, you're showing a lot more creativity to me. I showed up in a black shirt, and because I wanted to look good, I put the necklace on the outside rather
I
than on the
love that. I
inside.
actually totally noticed that, because every other time we've talked, I've never seen a piece of jewelry on you, and I was like, hey, you looking fancy today.
That's right. That's right. I got this at a lost and found at a corporate retreat. So I can't say that I went and got it on my own, but thanks to whoever donated it by leaving
Thank
it
you for
behind.
your charity, whomever. I love it. I love every
Uh,
component of the outfit. Good job. Okay, thank
Thank you.
you.
You too.
Now I'm going to read, and this is funny because I am the imagination and you are the brains of the operation, but I'm going to take a swing at our operational vision. So for you all,
Ooh.
we were chit-chatting and we decided to think about our mission statement and our vision statements in separate spaces, so that when we came back together, we knew it was an amalgamation of both of our brains instead of just us leading one another. When Wade came back to the table with his vision statement, it was, of course, this achievable, we're going to do this in 18 months vision statement to build. We have 4 phases that we're hoping to do in our business, and to build to phase 1, it was that. When I came back, it was a bulleted list of how I want us to change the world throughout our lives, of course. So I'm going to read you the one that Wade brought to the table and we turned into ours. And then I'll have Wade read the one that's the more marketable vision that I brought to the table. And you can kind
The one that we'll put on the
you can
website.
get how our brains work from that. So our short-term operational vision: flip 5 homes by the end of 2024 and morph into what we're calling phase 2 I'm sure we'll dig into that, if not in this podcast, then in a future podcast. But then also growing our media presence, which is a big part of what we're doing right now with the podcast. We're going to start, as Wade mentioned at the top, video podcast on YouTube, releasing audio on several platforms like Spotify, Apple, hopefully Amazon, and some other spaces. And then with time, also growing a presence on Instagram and Facebook. So those are our short-term achievable operational items and our vision. Wade, I will leave it to you to talk a little more about the marketable vision.
Yeah, I mean, how exciting to put on a website. We're going to flip 5 homes in the next 18 months. No, not super exciting to put on there. But what is exciting, right, because you are super creative, Heather, is improved properties, safe rentals, educated home buyers.
Woo!
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Improved properties, that captures what we're doing with the fix and flips, which we'll talk about later. Safe rentals, that encaptures moving into the next couple phases of what the business will eventually lead to. And educated home buyers is what we're doing right here, because you're going to be an educated home buyer by the end of this. So, Heather, it was a great vision statement, and I'm really excited to put it on the website and put mine somewhere in a back file where we'll just kind of look at it behind the scenes and have yours just out in front for everybody to see.
Wade,
I love it.
I'm pretty sure that half the population would really prefer to see your vision statement and half the population would rather see mine, and that's just the way the world works.
Should we have people like fill out a quiz on the website, and like depending on if they're real operationally minded or real creative, we'll give them whichever
exactly.
vision statement.
Yeah, I think we're gonna innovate a new way to do websites on top of everything else we're trying. No.
Okay, all right, maybe we let go of that one.
It's like your eyes just got huge. You're like, dude, I barely have time for what we're doing right now.
That got a little much. The operational mindset kicked in. Oh yeah, maybe that's going to be a little much.
I love it. Okay, and the last part that I hope for the audience, this is as enjoyable to them hearing about all of these things behind the scenes, because like, I don't know, when you're building a business, everything's so overwhelming. I feel like having these core spaces to come back to, the mission, the vision, the values, is just really grounding, and it allows you to not feel quite as stressed out. So if you get bored and you fast forward through what we're saying about our own business, that's okay. But if you're new to entrepreneurship, I feel like it's kind of exciting to get to hear what other newbies in the space are doing for themselves and their thought process. So without further ado.
Well, it's the filter. It's the filter that you look at everything through. Am I going to say yes or no? How am I going to respond in this situation? What business decisions are we going to make? The mission, vision, and core values are the filter of everything that you do. And they ultimately lead to your culture, whatever your culture is in your company, whether it's the culture you foster with your employees, the culture that you foster with your customers, the culture that you foster with your partners and vendors. All those things come from your mission, vision, and core values. And if you drift from those things, you're never going to make any progress. You're just going to be moving around, but never getting to where you want to be.
That's
so
very
important.
Good framework. Thank you for bringing that like metaphor in. You told me right before we hopped on too, and I loved this. This is why I love working with you. You said, "Are you really okay with this being what guides us for the rest of forever as far as the mission statement goes?" And we went through chunk by chunk. Yes, this fits this. Yes, this fits this. Like, this is why this is important. You mentioned Dave Ramsey's Entre Leadership, which is that right?
Entre Leadership.
That's where you read quite a bit most recently about, make sure to stay true to where you started from and what you decided was going to guide you. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's something where the mission doesn't change, because if it changes, then the DNA of your company is changing. Your vision changes all the time as your business goes through different phases, as you go through different phases as a person, but your core mission doesn't change. That stays the same.
So the last little puzzle piece of all that for us is values. Would you be so kind as to tell us a bit about our values?
Yeah, I'm going to list them off and then we'll go back through them together. So, honest, access, imaginative, love A, profit 1B. So, honest is, hey, we're truth tellers. Heather and I are so honest that we turn down things that would probably really benefit us, but we don't feel great about not being honest. And we want our company to be the same thing. We want to operate with a good moral compass. We want to be able to tell the truth in love. Sometimes it's hard truths. Honesty sometimes can be a hard conversation. Sometimes it's calling out, hey, when somebody does something great, but it's always staying true to doing the right thing and, following it the way you're supposed to. So, Heather, anything on
You
honesty
brought
that you
up
wanted to add?
that we try to stick to honesty even in the hardest of times, and that reminded me of why I lost $15,000 on my first property. I want to tell a little anecdote here about honesty and how important it is to us in our business. On the first property that I tried to turn into an Airbnb, so many things went wrong, you all. Okay, so we had 7 inspections done on the home before we closed on that house from people, 7,
7?
from different
Holy
specialists, because I
smokes.
knew that I didn't know what I was doing, so I needed to trust experts. We brought in a building contractor from the capital city of the state we were in that was a family friend as one of the 7. We had so many things that we thought we did right. We then learned that the space that we were going to convert into a studio to have Airbnb guests come and stay at the attachment part of our home had been built. I don't know if it were illegally or how exactly it had been built, but it were built in such a way that the foundation wasn't safe where we were because there was no frost barrier under it, and we get freezing temperatures 7 to 9 months out of the year, depending on the year. So in order for us to get that space up to code, we would have had to rip all of it apart, put a frost barrier in, rebuild on top of it, which of course, so much more than we projected. The money and the down assistance program that I referenced earlier we utilized to secure the home was so that we could keep more money in our pocket to fund building that space before we knew all those issues existed. Well, because of the way that we secured the home, holding on to more money in our pocket that we ended up not being able to use for the purposes we wanted to because there was no frost barrier under it, the way our loan worked, we couldn't have renters in the home until owning the home for 3 years. We knew that we'd be moving after the first year, and we didn't know that we couldn't rent the home until 3 years, until months before we were moving. So I know this is a little confusing if you weren't in the throes of it with me like Wade was, but basically every turn that we tried to iterate, something popped up that was like, nope, can't do that. Nope, can't do that. A lot of people in my life who I love and trust, and they're great people, so totally fine. They were looking out for my best interest. But a lot of them were like, well, the 3-year rule, yes, it's a rule, and you signed a contract that said you can't rent it, but you're probably not going to be checked in on. If you are, then you just have to move into the process of selling your home. Hold on to the house. You know you're going to lose a big chunk of change if you don't. And I will not tell a lie, I considered it. I went through the process of seeking a renter. We found the perfect family. We were really, really thinking about it. And then I thought, no, like this is not how I was raised. This is not who I am. This is dishonest. I signed a contract. So I reached out to the renters. I let them know that I was so sorry, refunded them for all of their things, looked to see how I could help them secure a space, because the worst part of all of that was I wasted their time, and that felt horrible. But ended up deciding to sell the home. Lost, as I mentioned earlier, over $10,000. It was actually about $14,600 that we ended up losing, which is painful. It sucked. It really sucked, you all. But to me, at the end of the day, it mattered more, to be honest. And I promise life will repay you if you are, because we ended up needing some help on the back end in order to meet all the expectations and to be able to afford the rental that we had to shift into in the new state and all this stuff. And just this community of people who know what we are as a couple, Trenton and I, and then who we are as people, uplifted us and made it possible. So that's how important honesty is to Wade and I. I know Wade has a million things he's done out of the goodness of his heart and what an honest person he is, but there's an example.
Well, I think that's a great example, Heather. Sometimes honesty means that you lose. It's a good reminder, too, to read the fine print of contracts, right? Because, no, a mortgage officer probably isn't going to – they're going to focus on the benefits and the highlights of a loan program, right? Also, sorry for the weird lighting I have on my nose. I got a tree and the lights coming through.
Nature.
It looks kind of cool. But they're going to focus on the highlights. And there are great things, because for a first-time home buyer, right, an FHA, a USDA loan, any of those. I just was reading one that's a 100% finance loan where they're providing down payment assistance. All of those things are great. If you're just trying to get into a home, it can really be helpful because it takes a long time to get a down payment saved up. But every one of those programs, because sometimes the government makes things complex. I
What?
think we would
No.
all maybe agree with that. It comes with strings attached. It comes with fine print that restricts what you can do at the back end, right? So for you, you weren't able to rent it until 3 years. Well, what happens when you're supposed to move to Nevada, right? Then you're kind of in a spot where you're
Yep.
in a corner, and you did the right thing,
Thank
Heather.
you.
So our company's going to do the same thing. So access is a combination of things. It's access to education and resources for those that we're educating. It's access to Heather and I for our team. It's access to information. It's really just, we want to provide access, better access to affordable homes. In my community, there's no affordable homes. I just was on a call with somebody and they said, I don't know if my kids are going to get to stay here. And that broke my heart. Like, if you're raised somewhere and your kids are priced out of the area, I know that's happening in San Francisco and New York and LA, but it's also happening in a small town in Idaho. And that just hurts my heart. So anyways, I know access is really important to you, Heather, with education, and you want to
Thanks.
dive into that?
Yeah. Well, also such a good point. I'm visiting one of my best friends in Santa Monica. But speaking of not being able to have affordable living, Santa Monica, Malibu, like, holy cow, going to the grocery store here blows my mind when we're buying food. So access is so important. The amount of people who are living from their cars in this space, those are the things Wade and I want to, piece by piece, in the communities that we are a part of and understand, work against and work for the people. And yeah, we really love the people that we get to be around. Anywho, access to education. I think a lot of making that transformation comes from people knowing their rights, knowing ways that they can make money, knowing how to, if they are struggling with mental health difficulties, access counselors. Wade chose the word access for us, and I told him, to me, it is perfect. It's everything that I've wanted to do since I was 16, 17, 18 years old, and really learned what philanthropy meant and what working with other people meant. When I was 18, I had the privilege of getting to travel to southern India with a supervisor who spends a lot of her time over there. We were in a particular community in southern India where young women, because of the way the society had been structured and some of the religious beliefs in that particular area, if they were born to families who didn't have a lot of resources, then they would often be left spaces to starve to death, to freeze to death, depending on the time of year. Just really devastating, of course, beyond devastating circumstances. And so this incredible woman, Sandhya Ma, created this pedestal, basically, where whoever couldn't afford to have their child could leave that child on that pedestal. And she would take that child in, and she would either find another home for them or she'd raise them herself. And she developed this into I don't know that orphanage is the right word, but that's the word coming to my mind, in a space where with time she was able to create a school for these girls. And it's like this sanctuary where they're able to receive education and continue to live their lives.
Wow.
And she just talked so much about how education opens up the world of access. It opens up being able to have your own finances, being able to have your own home, being able to make your own decisions about who you marry. So access. Thank you for choosing that word, Wade. That's just like the semblance of how much it means to me and how much it will mean to us.
Absolutely. Well, and India is a perfect example of the opposite of access, right? The caste system, which, if you're in that, if you're listening from India, I'm so sorry that sometimes you don't get the opportunity to try and better your life, better yourself. It breaks my heart that somebody, can't do anything to better themselves, better their families. But that's what this is all about, right? The education is so you can better yourself and better your family. So I think we're fully aligned there. So the next one's imaginative. Imaginative is like Heather's favorite word. Her personal brand is Heather Imagined. I'm going to be completely honest. And Heather, I was thinking about this the other day. I remember when I had an imagination as a kid and I wanted to dig a hole to China. And I dug a hole that was 6 feet deep and I got way deep and I just kept digging. And I thought, man, I'm going to dig all the way to China. And Heather, since I'm an adult now, fully, honest is one of our core values. I don't have as much of an imagination, and it's almost sometimes non-existent, and it almost died. But since having our daughter Hazel, it's coming back. It's coming back. We get to play all the time and hang out. My wife Kira, she never lost her imagination. She always is imagining things and doing things. But my daughter Hazel's really bringing it back. So yeah, imagination is pushing the edge. It's dreaming of something that isn't possible, right? And then making that a possibility. So Heather, what's imagination mean for you?
Imagination for me means lifeline. Oh my gosh, I have ADHD and I have always seen the world a little bit differently. I was fortunate that as a feminine person in the schooling system, having ADHD tends to be easier to adapt than for a lot of like masculine people who have ADHD. So it's not that I had to suffer nearly as much as a lot of people do, but I did suffer some without realizing it because I'm like, why do I always have racing thoughts? And why am I always seeking these little adventures or food? Or I just was always using supplementation that wasn't necessarily good for me until I hit my early 20s and learned that I could channel those feelings into being creative. And then I slowly started to learn that I'm super interested in businesses and that I really enjoy marketing. And so to me, imagination again really is like a lifeline to escaping from bad habits, to understanding that your brain can work in unique ways and still have a place in the world. But yeah, that to me is what imagination means. I also freaking love that you brought up Hazel in this segment. That, yes, is such a beautiful, like, Wade, I remember when you sent a picture of Hazel eating dirt. You're like, Hazel's out here eating dirt while we're playing in the garden, and I'm trying to, like, obviously you weren't like, yeah, Hazel, eat that dirt. But I just think about the crazy stuff I did as a kid. On a dare once, this is so gross. I've barely told anyone this, so you're welcome, universe, that you get this piece. I licked bird poop. I am not proud. I am 0% proud of that, Wade. But you just do crazy stuff when you're like a little kid, an infant, because you're like,
Oh my gosh, I almost just left. I don't know how to respond to that.
On the plus side, it was dry, and I know that I'm not like giving imagination the most beautiful visual right now, but you do crazy stuff when you have imagination, and most of the time, I think it's good, and sometimes it's licking bird poop or eating dirt, but
Oh my gosh. It's okay, Heather. My first day in kindergarten, or maybe it was first grade, when I was in the cafeteria at lunch, they out on the condiment table, they have like the ketchup and the mustard, sometimes mayonnaise. Well, this was back before Michelle Obama had been
yes.
the first lady. And so those school lunches were not as healthy as they are now. And I was going there and they had these big scoops and it looked like ice cream. And I was so excited. So I got these big scoops and put it on my plate. Oh, I was like, man, ice cream. And it was kind of weird because it wasn't refrigerated or frozen, but I didn't give it a second thought. Big spoonful. Oh my gosh. It was margarine.
I am a little ill.
Don't eat margarine thinking it's ice cream. That's better than bird poop, though.
Dry bird poop.
I do want to throw that out there.
Bird poop. I didn't lick any wet bird poop, okay?
Yeah, that would be really gross. That's like chocolate ice cream. Everybody's imaginations are starting to come back into gear, and they're like, "Oh,
nasty!"
Man.
And then we see that the watch rate on YouTube just plummets right here.
Yeah, there we go. I was gonna say, if you watch on YouTube, maybe we'll go get some margarine and some bird poop, and we'll recreate those moments so you can see it.
And I'm gonna do the margarine since it was the opposite last time.
Whoa, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
It's gonna be great. Kira's gonna love that.
Okay.
Wow. I know I'm having you lead this, but because I'm just letting your brain work through the fact that your partner in crime licked bird poop, our next core value is, with that transition, and I'm sure you could guess this from the name, Love First Homes, but it's love. And Wade integrated this whole thing that, to be honest, I'm still wrapping my mind around how cool it is, but it's Love 1A. Because, and this is where I'll pass it to you, Wade, I want you to describe how the Love 1A connects to the Profit 1B.
Okay. So love is the center of everything we do. That's why it's called Love First Home. I can dive into where that came from, where that stemmed from, is that there's always the saying, what would Jesus do? Right. And then a lot of times people would say, well, he would love first. So one time somebody gave me a wristband that said he would love first. And I loved that. I mean, that's just something that I just loved love first. So anyways, it's the center of everything we do, because honestly, like, there's lots of ways to make money. There's lots of ways to spend your time. There's lots of ways to do business. I'm not super interested in just doing it for profit alone. I'm not. I care about people too much. We care about people too much. And so love and making people's lives better is the center of everything that we do. And so love is 1A. It's the first thing that we do. It's the focus of everything we do. But profit is 1B, because you cannot have mission without money. And you can't have, I had a little
I know,
saying.
you said
I
it
gotta find
earlier. It
Hold
was
on.
perfect. I should have given you some warning.
No, it's no mission, no, yeah. Hold on. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. No money, no mission, no profit,
Yeah.
no people.
No.
There you go. That's it. Without profit, without money, can't love.
I can't.
Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. You can love.
Canceled.
You can love. But yeah, there we go. Thank you. But your business can't operate in love if it doesn't make it.
I don't remember
It'll
if
go
I
away.
ever told you this or not, Wade. I may have, but my dad growing up always told me, which, by the way, just huge shout out to my parents, because I love those people, and my older sister, all do both. But my dad told me growing up, you can't support others until you can support yourself. And I really think a lot of my business mindset comes from that. Even with my partner, who's a veteran, when we met a long time ago, but we became romantically involved in our mid-20s, and he was going through school. He had come back from living in Korea and Washington, being stationed there, and he is not a money-driven person, which is perfect for me. I need a partner who's not money-oriented, because to me, a lot of helping community and helping relationships comes from, okay, I'm going to try to make money. I'm going to try to provide in these ways. So this really, really resonates with who I am at my core, what my father taught, and what I do at my home too. Like, admittedly, I'm not a great chef. I am pretty good at cleaning, so I'll give myself that. But I'm not a great chef. I'm not always good at doing the things that make a home beyond being able to, like, provide resources and meaningful conversation. And I think that you've created a space for me here, Wade, where I get to contribute the parts of me that come from success, comes from supporting yourself, or not success, sorry, supporting others comes from supporting yourself first. But ultimately, what I care the most about is supporting others. So I have to be able to support myself. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. It's the core of everything that we do is loving others. But you have to have something to give. You have to be being refilled for you to pour out into others. Because eventually, if you just pour and pour and pour, you'll have nothing left in your tank, and then you just kind of die. Just like your business would die if nothing's coming into it.
You said that, and you moved closer to the camera, and I don't know why, but my brain thought about that thing in Finding Nemo when the niece is like, fishing! And the fish is just dead. That's like what's in my brain right now. Is that a horrible scene with her head here? So that's what happens to you if you don't support yourself, as you become the fish in Finding Nemo. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And that's just a fishy situation to be in.
So proud that happened in my brain, because if I can't integrate some overlay of that into this YouTube podcast, then who am I? No.
Oh wow. You're gonna like switch me out for
that
you're coming
gonna come in. Well, we'll see.
Wow.
We'll see where my skills are limited.
I guess this is why you need to watch the video podcast on YouTube. You might see some fish.
You're welcome. Okay, you all. We have taken you on quite the journey talking about who we are, our mission, our 2 visions, because we 2 brains, 2 visions, our values.
And we want to know who you are. So go find us on Instagram and comment a little bit about who you are. Let us know so we can be in touch. Maybe even drop some contact information. We would love, well, not in the comments. That would be weird. You might get random people reaching out. But you could DM us with your stuff. And we would love to stay in contact with you and walk through your real estate journey with you. That's really something that we are passionate about, is walking through things with people. So yeah, go check it out. like, subscribe. What do all the influencers say?
Like, subscribe, comment, share.
share.
I don't know what else. There's a million things you can do, but the most important thing is we would just love to talk to
Just
you.
do
We
what you're
just want
supposed to
to
do.
get to know you. You know the fun stuff.
Yeah, there we go. Just, if this content has impacted you, all we would ask is that you continue to engage. That's really all we're looking for, is we just want to see you continue to get access to educational resources. And it's been fun. It's been fun. We'd like to get to know you better so that we can continue to adapt the content to what you're looking for, and also provide any resources or answers to questions that come up for you guys. So thanks so much for a great first episode.
Yeah.
Heather, I think we're not going to lick any bird poop anymore. I think that was probably the biggest takeaway
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
this
and
was
the
a
biggest
fun one.
takeaway for me was that we're not financial advisors, and to look at contracts when you're getting your first real estate piece of property so that you don't
Yep.
have to pay $15,000 to your mistake. All right? Don't make a Heather mistake.
Yes. Always read the fine print. Always read the fine print. Yeah, that would be my
No,
true
it's
real
bird poop for
takeaway.
you.
The bird poop's not the real takeaway.
Thank you, Wade.
All right. Well, hey guys, thanks so much. What a great start, and we will see you next
Bye.
week.